But joining me right now is a man who gives me much joy. He knows it. And now I get to tell him that. Once again, he's the general manager of the New York Jets, Joe Douglas, here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, sir?
Hey, Rich. How you doing, bud? Good to be back.
Oh, boy. How am I doing? Well, that's a great question. I'm filled with hope. I'm filled with excitement, Joe. And like what you're doing. I like the cut of your jib, sir. I'm not going to lie. I appreciate it. That's how I'm doing. How are you?
We're good. It's our off day today and tidying up a few things, and then we roll into the week of practice, getting ready for Buffalo on Monday night.
You feeling super, Joe? Is that a word you would use, an adjective to describe how you're feeling? Would you describe yourself as super?
I think everybody's excited. I think we're ready to get this thing going. I mean, we've been in camp since July 19th, so we've had almost a 2-month-long camp, so it'll be good to get this thing rolling.
Oh, okay. You won't even use the adjective. Do you use the adjective? Like you go to the market, you won't even call it a supermarket? Is that what's going on in your life right now, Joe? You won't even use the word?
There's other superlatives that I'll use. I think there's the right time to use.
It's not called the superlative bowl, Joe. You know what it's called. Aaron didn't say that the superlative trophy is lonely. You know what I mean? He said the word. He said the word.
He said the word, and we're all doing this for the same goal, right?
Okay.
So
all right.
That road starts soon, so we're just fired up to get this thing going.
When did Rodgers first show up on your radar screen, Joe?
I think the first time he showed up on the radar screen was about a week after the season when I had an initial call with Brian, and at the time I didn't see it as a realistic option. You hold him in such reverence as a player and what he's done, and we're in the middle of our end of season process and getting ready to get in with the coaches and dive into everything that we need to do to put our off season plan together. And so that was just an initial conversation, and then as the days and the weeks progressed, and we got closer to the combine, closer to free agency, and I think that's when it started to become more of a reality as we were talking with Dave Dunn and Brian.
And at any point when you mentioned the idea to Woody Johnson, did he say, really, we're going to go for Green Bay's GOAT, first ballot Hall of Famer quarterback again? Did he have any sort of flashbacks that you had to work through with the man who writes the checks, Joe, on that?
No, I mean, I think from day one, Woody was excited about this opportunity, about adding a player of this caliber to the team, and not only him, but just any great player. We've been able to add some really good players over the last couple of years, and adding a guy like Aaron and adding a guy like Dalvin. I mean, Woody's been very very supportive in going after players like that.
When did you first learn the interest was mutual with Rodgers, Joe?
I think it was when we were allowed to talk with Dave Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us permission around the combine to have that initial discussion. And then the more we talked, the more it became this could be a realistic option. And then, of course, when we all jumped on the plane and flew out to Malibu, that's probably when it became surreal and real, at the same time.
Why was it surreal to you?
I just flying out to go see Aaron Rodgers and sit in his home, talk to him about joining the New York Jets, a team that you've been working with for the last few years, and it's surreal, sitting there and having those conversations and getting to know him as a person, because you know all about him as a player, but getting to know him as a man, that was a special thing.
When was his contract redone? Was that part of the delay that was between that dinner and the actual trade? Joe, talking contract that, Rodgers 100% coughed up money that he could earn if he finished his contract, but took less of that money to go to the Jets, Joe?
Yeah, I don't think that was part of the delay in terms of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the delay was was just us and Brian working it out into what the terms would be for the trade. But it wasn't about the contract.
So the contract had nothing to do with it. But was it around then when he said, let's do this? Because obviously I'd imagine you needed some certainty on that front to acquire Aaron Rodgers, Joe.
Yeah, there were some initial conversations. We didn't really hammer it out until we got into training camp. But there was just some initial conversations of what it might look like, some kind of broad strokes. And then we finalized everything shortly after we came back in July.
And then just seeing him, it looks like he's been around the metropolitan area his whole life, with what's been going on. Are you even somewhat taken aback at how comfortable he has appeared and how quickly he has taken over the role of leading this team and the players who are excited to follow him? I'm wondering your perspective on all of that, Joe Douglas.
Yeah, not after my initial opportunity to get to meet him. I was certainly blown away just by his how thoughtful, how genuine he is as a person. So I'm not surprised that he was able to come here and really build these connections with his teammates, ingratiate himself with the city of New York. I think it's been a natural thing for him, and it's been cool to see these relationships blossom as he's been here.
Joe Douglas, general manager of the New York Jets, here on the Rich Eisen Show. You got Quinnen Williams done. You got Dalvin Cook done. I'm assuming Cook would not have been able to get done had Rodgers not taken less money. Is that a fair assessment, Joe?
Well, I think we had some flexibility with our budget, with our cap situation. I think certainly us getting Quinnen done before training camp, so that we could spread out the sign-in bonus, prorate the sign-in bonus, and not have a large chunk of money sitting on the cap in paragraph 5 in his salary. That certainly went into it as well. But again, it was an opportunity for us to add an outstanding player in Dalvin and a guy that's an explosive playmaker, and we feel like we have a lot of dynamic playmakers on this offense and defense, but some good young dynamic offensive weapons. And then with us being able to get Quinnen done, who everyone feels is an absolute game wrecker for our defense. That was a key component to getting Dalvin in the building too. And
then Dalvin, was he acquired because at the time you still were iffy on Breece Hall's readiness to take the same similar workload as his truncated rookie season, Joe?
No, we felt good about Breece because Breece has been attacking his rehab unbelievably, and we knew we had a timetable that either that we could practice in Carolina or Tampa, that he was going to be ready to re-enter practice and get up to speed. I think this was just an opportunity to add a difference maker on offense, and just so happens to be the same position as Breece and Michael Carter, and Izzy Bonacanda is another running back that had a really good preseason for us. But we feel like we have a really strong room there, and so that we can really, it gives us more options, more flexibility in terms of our play calling.
And the fact that Dalvin was available is because of the current state of the running back market. Your perspective on the subject matter that your co-tenant, as you know, in MetLife, dealt with this issue significantly with Saquon, but you're a general manager. You're one of the 32 that helped set a market for a running back market. What's your 2 cents in what you're hearing, how running backs think that they're not paid what they're worth in the NFL, Joe?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a market oddity, I feel like. And, you could say maybe it's because of analytics and the pass game has been so valued over the last few years. But, in my mind, just in the way I've come up in football, running backs still matter, and especially for a team that plays where we play, and a team that doesn't have a roof, and when things get cold and you're competing in the playoffs and you're competing for an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, the run game, physical play still matters, and so it's gonna be important for us.
And so let's Joe Douglas, a couple minutes left with the general manager of the New York Jets right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So Breece Hall looks the same to you? He's going to come out of the box on Monday night looking like the same guy who was running through holes and increasing goal lines for the Jets last year?
Yeah, I mean, his first practice back, I think it was his first or second practice, we split him out wide as a wide receiver. He runs a slant route, and he just splits the defense with that speed that we saw last year, and it couldn't help but put a smile on your face, seeing him catch that ball and split the defense the way he did, and showing everybody that gas that he still has, and our GPS proved it. So it's been great integrating him back into the offense. And last week when we were able to have him and Dalvin back there, and just the cool things that we can do. It's been fun to walk out there and practice every day.
Okay, so Dalvin's in the backfield. Rodgers is under center. Breece Hall split out wide on the same field as Garrett Wilson. Is that what you're telling me? Is this what you're saying to me, Joe Douglas? Is that what you're saying to me? Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there could be some cool options. And I don't know if it'll be exactly like that.
Well, I'm not trying to look. Come on, like the Bills. Like we're not telling any tales out of school here. I'm just trying to point out, like, this is the firepower with which the Jets are entering the National Football League 2023 season. Just as a possibility, I didn't even mention the other guys like Lazard or anybody else. Just in theoretically, Joe Douglas.
Allen looks really good too, and of course Garrett, and Cobby's he's doing a great job, and he's so great for that room for our team. So we do have a good mix of players, a good mix of youth and veteran presence on offense and defense.
Can confirm. All right, so then what's your best Rodgers story that you either witnessed or heard about where you're like, okay, that's the guy. That's the guy that we were hoping to get when I first had him on a radar screen after the season, and then things got real at the combine, and then things got even more real around free agency and the draft, and it happened, and now he's here. Where you're like, okay, this is it. You got one for me on that front, Joe?
It's like a collage for me. It's not like one particular thing. Mm-hmm. It's the handshakes he has with Sauce and Michael Carter. It's the it's Sauce giving him the necklace. It's him, the way he basically gives the defensive players, whether it's Sauce or Quinnen, little nuggets and ways that they can get better. It's not one thing. I feel like it's just been like dozens and dozens of little moments that have added up to be a huge thing.
And he's also said this is not just a one-year deal. Do you get that sense, Joe? Or has he literally said those words to you that you're willing to share in New York?
I mean, I think he's. I'm not going to put any words in Aaron Rodgers' mouth. I think he seems to be in a happy place, and we want to keep him there, and so we just kind of attack this one day at a time. But I feel like he's in a good place. We have got a lot of young players and veteran players that are in a good place, and now we just have to go out and execute.
But in terms of just, I am mandated to say, because again, this is important to me too, Joe Douglas, that for the future, you do know you have to FaceTime him at home, right? Not call him at home. You know that, right, Joe? You're supposed to do that?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. I heard the reception wasn't great there.
But how about Jersey? Have we tested it? Have you personally tested his home cell phone range? Have you personally tested this, Joe? We good?
So I feel like the cell service has been great here.
Okay, great.
Jersey. And we haven't had to cross that FaceTime barrier because I was very upfront. Like, I'm not a huge FaceTime guy of like guy to guy. I do that with like my wife and kids occasionally.
Right.
But I was very upfront. Like, I'm really not a dude to dude FaceTime guy. But text, call, let's do it face to face. Absolutely.
But that's crucial communication, that you've put that out there, and that like if you call him at home and it goes straight to voicemail, You got to FaceTime Joe. Just, for him, let's make that dude-to-dude exception.
There's no doubt, especially if it's an emergency.
Okay, very good. Just want to make sure.
That is the threshold I definitely would cross for him.
All right. Joe, I'm very excited about the flight plan. I'm not going to lie. Very excited about the flight plan. So you take off, sir, and I look forward to seeing you Monday night and beyond. Please look for more of my phone calls. You have my very fragile emotions in your hands, Joe. I'm not going to lie. Very fragile.
I appreciate you, Rich. Appreciate your support.
Not as fragile as Mike Greenberg's. Let's be straight up about that, okay? Let's straight up. But but it's still fragile nonetheless. Okay, Joe? I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Rich.
You got it, man. And thanks for the hard knocks, okays. I greatly appreciate that. That was fun. That was great.
I did a great job with that.
Excellent. Joe, you be well, sir. You be well. Thanks again. Have a great Monday and beyond. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks, guys.
General manager of the New York Jets, Joe Douglas, the man who put this team and roster together. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.